Hmm.
Sorry to interrupt, but you do see like the great media landscape is like you got the Daily Moron and Propaganda 24 as like the pro Cyril thing. Business Live could be in there as well. Then you got the anti
It's all
Cyril
part of the same
ones.
group. Mm.
Uh, Daily Maverick is apparently independent. And then you got the anti Cyril one at least, which is IOL and like the Sowetan Star, the Soweto
And
Star,
to
and
a
a few
degree,
others.
Times Live, huh? Times Live also not that complimentary to Cyril if you read it.
Yeah, so you get these two like diametrically opposed media things, and the problem is they all think that they're independent, right? News 24 thinks it's wonderfully independent, and it's more than happy to leak the secret plan by the other media group to oust Cyril. Whereas I'm thinking to myself, I actually like IOL because they wear their feelings on their bloody chests. You know exactly what you
Well, they're
get
not
from
trying to
them.
be independent, and they don't say they're independent.
Well, they're called
You know.
independent media, but other than that,
Well, when it comes through to their articles, I mean, they're always very clear where their articles came from. News 24 always try to hide this stuff,
yeah,
and they try to make it seem like it's like legit and it's independent. I mean, you covered that story where that one guy went all after John Steenhuisen over his roadkill comments, and the three people who commented on it were all like, people that shill for this whole diversity training. In fact, they asked three independent fact checkers, and the independent fact checkers were all people that basically sell equality training. So who knew? Apparently
yeah,
they're independent.
yeah.
IOL at least doesn't
Yeah.
do that as much.
So it's like News 24 says, IOL is owned by the businessman Iqbal Survey Sekunjalo Group. It was created through loans from the PIC and Chinese state-owned companies, etc., etc., etc. So basically, they're trying to
Mm.
smear them through their ownership mechanism. Who owns News 24, guys? Naspers. Who owns Naspers? Naspers owns off of like Tencent, which is like one of the biggest Chinese corporations out there, right? Like the
So
assumption
you
that
got
News
so you got
24 is
Chinese
like,
propaganda
yeah,
versus Chinese propaganda.
there we go. And funny enough, the Chinese don't give a shit at all about South Africa.
Yeah.
Anyway, another way that News 24 tries to smear independent media is that independent media is not part of the press code. So the press code says you should report accurately, honestly, and not
Mm.
be misleading or tell distorted truths.
However, I have to remind you that the press code is voluntary. So that's why they're not a member of it. It's voluntary.
Yes, but unfortunately, even people that do subscribe to the press code are a bunch of lying bastards, like News 24 and the Daily Moron. I mean, the notion that if you're not part of the press code, you're automatically not trustworthy is, in reality, completely bunk. Because
Mm.
as purveyors of fake news, News 24 is really much up there.
I think what gets me about this whole article is that it's pushed as the whole thing on IOL as being an RET agenda. So they're like, oh, the RET are promoting an agenda. Well, what exactly is News 24 promoting, if not the Cyril agenda? So how is this not just factionalism fought out between two newspapers?
Yeah, no, it really is. I think that's all it is. It's like, two dogs growling at each other for the longest time. So Aziz Hartley, who is the independent media editor in chief, responded, "Can News 24 in all good consciousness tell us that it is happy with the status quo of the country or with the ruling party's performance?" Oof. Can you, News
But that's
24?
kind of true, mate.
Yeah,
I
it's very
mean, and
true.
we've. Do you remember we did some rants, and we've done loads of rants on this? But why does the media always feel the need to go? And you have to think of this. They got News 24 going, "Oh, the future of South Africa is Cyril,"
Mm.
and you got IOL going, "Oh, the future of South Africa is the RET crazy people." Everybody sees that those people are like the future of South Africa. So it's like ANC light, ANC hardcore, or ANC's
Yeah,
brown shirts.
basically they're all
So
like the ANC, so they're all disqualified.
all of them, all of them, and they're all like, "Oh, okay. All we really got to do is just discuss how hardcore we're going to have the ANC. We're either going to have it at like level 1 or level 10. Like, all it is semantics on what level of the ANC we're getting, but we're still getting the ANC."
Yeah.
And they don't all seem to sit down and go, maybe a South Africa without the ANC would be a really good thing. And it seems really weird to me.
Well, independent media, the editor in chief carries on. She said, independent media like News 24, we love this country. We have an editorial direction. We do not comment on your direction, News 24. So I'm not certain why you have to comment on our particular direction, which is very fair. And
Mhm.
also, very importantly, the document that is in your possession, that is our plan to our Cyril, clearly demonstrates that Cyril will be the last president of the ANC. This is about the ANC as a party and whether it will be a ruling party in the next election. Nothing more, nothing less. Any attempt to infer otherwise is just disingenuous and diminishes your role as an objective reporter. I'm with independent media on this. They are allowed to hate Cyril and they're allowed to want NDZ to replace him. I don't know why this is such a big issue. It's only a big issue because News24 are a bunch of pansies and they want to bulldoze the competition. That's what it seems like to me.
Let's also remind ourselves we did a video where we endorsed NZZ as the president of the ANC, not because we thought she was the best person for the ANC, but because we knew that the minute she was elected, the ANC was pretty much finished because nobody's ever going to vote for that dragon. But I suppose the line in this article that I would like to focus on just as next is this line. It says, factionalism in the ANC is basically killing the country, and that's actually what it says. That's the journalism that we're getting here. We have merely taking an active role in this. It is not journalism. No one is buying their newspapers. It goes for free at the airport. No one trusts this journalism. And now we can see why. I suppose the first question I would say is, well, if you can't even write your articles properly, well, that might be a reason why nobody's buying them. But the other part of it is, you can't really say it's just factionalism in the ANC. As we can see, there is factionalism in journalism. We have two factions fighting it out right now on the public stage. We have News24 and IOL. So this isn't confined to the ANC. In fact, the ANC's factionalism has spread and created factions in themselves externally.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the article for News24 goes on and talk about the financial situation, about independent media, that, the shares are down dramatically, that the PRC bailed them out. And Zondo found that some of the journalists within independent media were paid and all that. Like, this has absolutely nothing to do at all with the notion of the article that independent media wants to oust Cyril Ramaphosa. That just seems like a bitter ex-boyfriend who's bitching about his ex-girlfriend at the end of the day. No one goes to News24's financial statements because we know very well they're bailed out by Naspers and Tencent. Media24 is not making any money whatsoever. We don't use that against them. But News24 is quite happy to use that against independent media in this particular case, just because independent media actually has the balls to say what they mean, unlike News24.
Yeah. I once heard this said in Russia, and I think we can start to apply it here in South Africa. And that is, everybody knows that the news in Russia is state promoted. So whenever they know that the state-promoted news says something to you, nobody listens to it because they know it's bullshit. They all know it's like a approved regime narrative. It's all like, oh, what does Putin or the government want you to think? Well, this. Go listen to this. And they're all like, of course, I'm sure that's true. So they all know that it's kind of like, it's approved narrative. So nobody listens to it. They all listen to the independent guys. And that's why the opposition leader, who's currently in prison, is actually so popular in Russia. Why? Because he actually has a YouTube channel. He goes on YouTube quite a lot and he says, oh, look, this is actually what's going on. Nobody wants to report about it. And he gets millions of views in Russia. And to be honest, I think that's where we're going in South Africa. Like, nobody believes IOL. Nobody believes News24. They know it's regime approved. And here we have it right now in the public. We have News24 directly competing against IOL.
And even the point of this whole story is about News24 supporting Cyril, the ANC, and the other guys supporting NDZ, also the ANC. So they both support the ANC. So they're both morons. And they both should be, that is immediately disqualifying in and of its own terms. And secondly, let's be honest, this is just an attempt to increase market share and bulldoze your competition. At 100%. Least the fundamental difference is at least independent media has the balls to actually say what it means. Unlike News24. So in this particular regard, independent media, we don't like you, but you're better than News24, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you wanted to just prove what we would say, all I would ask you is, how often do you see like pro-ACDP articles or pro-Freedom Plus articles or COPE articles? They don't exist. And you have to ask yourself, well, why? Is it because, A, the guys are doing nothing? I don't believe that's true. I mean, they're political parties, so they must do something. And I know that some of those parties are doing things, but they never get promoted. And if you look, every single comment about Action SA or the DA is always like negative. Oh, doom and gloom. Oh, these guys can't be trusted. Something, something, something. And then you got comments going, oh, but the ANC and Cyril's majestical. Like they would never steal 500 million. Trust us. Like those. That's how you know it's captured, because it's like the old argument. Oh, Jesus never existed. You know how you know that Jesus did exist? Because there's this thing called the Talmud. The Talmud is a Jewish book. They don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God. But in the Talmud, there is a reference to Jesus, Yeshua of Nazareth. Like, that does actually exist. And then you have the Christians going, oh, look, but Jesus was the Son of God. Well, what do they both have in common? Well, they both talk about Jesus, which means you can infer Jesus is a real person, because these are in both books. You have the good and the bad. That's how you know you can check something for factual accuracy. Where's the good stuff in News24, mate? Don't exist. When was the last time they said something positive about John? You're telling me every single thing the guy does is wrong. Like, I don't believe it. How about Helen? Every single thing that comes out of her mouth, it's wrong. No ways. Where's the positive stuff about Kenneth Mishue? It's not there. So that's how you know it's propaganda, because there isn't two sides of the story.
Yeah, it's called old school journalism, which doesn't exist anymore. So basically, the more short recommendation is let them fight. Hopefully they bury each other, and then we will just take up their place. Have a good Monday, everyone.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cool.